For decades, mainstream weight loss advice has insisted on one simple formula to shed pounds: eat less and move more. This concept, entrenched in conventional wisdom, perpetuates the idea that obesity is a direct consequence of consuming too many calories and not exercising enough. It's an attractive notion, straightforward, easy to understand, and seemingly logical. However, the reality is far more complex. Despite millions adhering to this advice religiously, obesity rates continue to climb, metabolic diseases are more prevalent than ever, and long-term weight loss success remains elusive. If the eat less, move more mantra were the answer, why are yo-yo dieting, ineffective weight loss programs, and sky-high diabetes rates the norm today? The answer lies in long-standing flaws in this conventional thinking. Traditional advice makes faulty assumptions, relies on an incomplete understanding of human metabolism, and outright ignores deeper biological and psychological drivers of weight gain. This persistent failure demands a shift in perspective, to address not just caloric intake, but also the vital roles of hormonal regulation, metabolic balance, and sustainable lifestyle changes. Let's dive into why traditional weight loss strategies fail, and explore why an updated, scientific approach is essential for lasting success. Perhaps the biggest flaw in traditional weight loss advice is the unwavering reliance on the calories in, calories out sicko model. At first glance, sicko seems logical: create a caloric deficit by eating fewer calories and increasing physical activity, and weight loss will follow. But this oversimplified model misunderstands the complexities of the human body, rendering it largely inadequate as a long-term solution. The sicko model assumes that the human body functions as a machine-like calculator, treating caloric deficits as linear and predictable. For example, the popular guideline that burning 3,500 calories equals 1 pound of weight loss suggests a consistent 500 calorie deficit will yield 1 pound of weight loss per week. However, the body is not a closed system, it's dynamic and adaptive. When you consistently restrict calories, your metabolism begins to slow down in response. As you lose weight, your body adjusts to preserve energy, burning fewer calories at rest. Hormonal changes also occur, with ghrelin, the hunger hormone, rising to make you hungrier, and leptin, the satiety hormone, dropping, making you feel less full. Over time, these adaptations make it harder to sustain a caloric deficit, leading to what is often termed as a weight loss plateau. Here's the critical question: if a calorie deficit guarantees weight loss, does that mean someone sustaining the same deficit will, in time, achieve zero weight? Of course not. The body's complex mechanisms, muscle retention, fat conservation, and hormonal signaling, ensure that weight loss cannot remain linear. This illustrates one simple truth: weight loss is more than a math equation. It's a metabolic, hormonal, and biochemical process that cannot be reduced to numerical calorie balance. Severe calorie restriction triggers the body's survival mechanisms. When faced with long-term calorie deficits, the body adapts by conserving energy, lowering its metabolic rate. This phenomenon, often called adaptive thermogenesis, makes it progressively harder to lose weight. Worse yet, when the body senses prolonged starvation, it seeks to preserve fat stores, often at the expense of breaking down valuable muscle tissue for energy. Muscle is metabolically active, meaning it burns more calories than fat at rest. So losing muscle further reduces your basal metabolic rate. Additionally, the hormonal changes triggered by calorie restriction only exacerbate the issue. Elevated ghrelin levels increase hunger, while reduced leptin disrupts satiety. Together, these changes make sustained calorie restriction increasingly difficult, pushing even the most disciplined dieters toward relapse. Another glaring oversimplification of the sicko model is that it treats all calories as equal. In reality, the human body processes calories from sugar, protein, and fat in vastly different ways due to unique biochemical pathways and hormonal responses. For example, consuming sugary foods causes a rapid rise in blood glucose, triggering a significant insulin spike. Insulin, a fat storage hormone, encourages the body to store excess energy as fat, while simultaneously inhibiting the breakdown of existing fat stores. Sugar also causes blood glucose to crash, spiking hunger and perpetuating the cycle. Protein requires more energy to digest and has minimal effects on insulin. Additionally, it promotes satiety and helps preserve muscle mass, making it far more weight loss friendly than carbohydrates. Healthy fats and fiber promote feelings of fullness by slowing digestion and minimizing blood sugar fluctuations, both of which support sustained energy levels and appetite control without triggering fat storage. The Sicko model fails to account for these differences. Weight loss is not simply about caloric quantity, it's also about quality. Eating 100 calories of sugar is not the same as consuming 100 calories of protein, plainly because they lead to different hormonal responses. Exercise is often treated as the central pillar of weight management. While it plays a vital role in overall health, including cardiovascular function, mental well-being, and physical strength, it is not the linchpin of weight loss. Why? Because the body works against you when you increase physical activity in isolation. Increased hunger can override caloric expenditure. Metabolic adaptations lead to reduced energy output in non-exercise activities, offsetting calorie burn. Compensatory eating or snacking often follows intense workouts. In other words, relying solely on exercise, while ignoring dietary factors, is a futile approach to weight loss. The old adage, "You can't outrun a bad diet," is not just a catchy phrase, it's rooted in metabolic science. Focusing solely on physical activity, rather than combining it with mindful, nutritious eating, makes sustainable weight loss nearly impossible. Traditional weight loss approaches almost entirely ignore a crucial element: hormones. Yet, hormones like insulin, ghrelin, leptin, and cortisol play pivotal roles in regulating hunger, fat storage, and overall metabolism. Insulin's primary function is to help cells absorb glucose from the blood for energy. However, elevated insulin levels, often caused by excessive carbohydrate and sugar consumption, act as a fat storage signal, locking stored fat and preventing its breakdown. This creates a vicious cycle. Overeating carbs leads to chronically high insulin levels. Fat-burning mechanisms are shut off. The body becomes dependent on glucose for energy, reinforcing sugar cravings and reducing metabolic flexibility. Moreover, consistently elevated insulin levels can lead to insulin resistance, a condition where cells become less responsive to insulin. Insulin resistance not only promotes weight gain, but is also the root cause of numerous chronic illnesses, including type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and potentially even neurodegenerative disorders, like Alzheimer's. Leptin and ghrelin are the yin and yang of hunger regulation. When working properly, leptin signals fullness, while ghrelin signals hunger. However, obesity disrupts this balance. Consuming processed foods and refined carbs contributes to leptin resistance, where the brain no longer registers fullness. Simultaneously, dieting elevates ghrelin, driving hunger and making long-term adherence to calorie restriction nearly impossible. Together, these hormonal imbalances create a scenario where individuals feel constantly hungry and unable to control calorie intake, regardless of willpower. Chronic stress elevates cortisol levels, which encourages fat storage, particularly around the abdominal area. Stress also increases cravings for high-calorie comfort foods, compounding weight gain. Elevated cortisol contributes to insulin resistance, exacerbating metabolic dysfunction. Another traditional dieting fallacy is frequent eating to keep the metabolism high. This practice, whether in the form of multiple small meals or frequent snacking, not only increases insulin levels throughout the day, but also prevents the body from ever entering a fat-burning state. Fat loss cannot occur when insulin remains elevated. The reality is clear. We do not need constant feeding, and in fact, extended periods without food, or intermittent fasting, can be profoundly beneficial for both weight management and metabolic health. The solution to effective weight loss is not simpler, but smarter. It lies in abandoning outdated models and embracing strategies that address hormones, metabolism, and long-term behavioral change. Focus on controlling insulin levels through reduced carbohydrate intake, particularly refined carbs and sugars. Integrate healthy fats, fiber, and protein to stabilize blood sugar. Improve insulin sensitivity and promote satiety. Periods of fasting lower insulin levels, improve metabolic flexibility, and trigger fat burning. Fasting also promotes hormonal balance, enhances mental clarity, and supports overall health. Ditch the low-fat, high-carb diet promoted by outdated guidelines. Instead, focus on whole, nutrient-dense foods like vegetables, healthy fats, high-quality protein, and minimally processed items. Healing the relationship with food is vital. Combat emotional eating, food addiction, and the mental toll of dieting through mindfulness, therapy, and stress reduction techniques. Instead of relying on cardio alone, focus on strength training, high-intensity intervals, and fasted movement to optimize metabolism and hormonal balance, not just burn calories. In conclusion, it's time to rethink weight loss. Traditional dieting and beliefs about weight loss are outdated, ineffective, and fundamentally flawed. They ignore the intricate interplay between hormones, metabolism, and psychology. Sustainable weight loss demands a deeper understanding of these underlying factors. By prioritizing hormonal regulation, embracing holistic nutrition, and addressing emotional barriers, a new paradigm for health and wellness can emerge. The truth is simple. Long-lasting weight loss isn't just about eating less or moving more. It's about working smarter, not harder. In this book, titled Hacking the Obesity Code, I share how this approach transformed not just my body, but my life. By hacking my metabolism with intermittent fasting, low-carb nutrition, and mindful mental practices, I rewrote the rules of weight loss, and you can too. You will learn the science behind my success and how you could also use it to your advantage. Please check the links in the description to see from where you could obtain your copy of my best-selling book.